a throw by Patrick Mahomes.
Tyrone Matthew with the big hit. Mostert out of nowhere.
A perfect pass from Jimmy Garoppolo. The Chiefs, the 49ers, are big game bound.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Miami. We are live from Radio Row. I'm Jack Doles. Been your host of Big Game Bound all season long. It's been a blast to do the show. I'll be with Jarrett Payton all week long here in Miami. And Jarrett, you know a thing or two about this city, having played at the U.
Man, Jack, I'm going to tell you right now, it's a pleasure and an honor to be able to sit alongside you for the week, but also to be back in my old stomping grounds in Miami to be able to see an unbelievable football matchup that's going on.
11th time this city has hosted the Super Bowl. Is there a better setting for it in your mind?
I would say maybe we got to bring it to Chicago because I feel like we need it there. But no, when you're talking about what you come for a Super Bowl, the weather, the atmosphere, the surroundings, Miami is a great host, and I'm looking forward to being able to see how this the city kind of, and down here on Miami Beach, they take advantage of this opportunity to have the big game here.
All right, so if you don't know Jarrett, he is a sportscaster at WGN in Chicago, and the last name may sound familiar. His dad played and won in a Super Bowl, the greatest running back in my mind in the history of the NFL, Walter Payton. What was that like growing up, the son of Walter Payton in that city of Chicago?
I'm going to tell you, it was the gift and the curse, I say to people all the time, because growing up, I didn't play football. I played soccer growing up, so to have an opportunity to play football in high school and then in college, everybody was always comparing me to my dad. And my dad would tell me one thing: don't be like me, be better than me. And as a kid, I'm going, you're the best ever. What are you talking about? He was talking about more off the field. There was a lot of pressure, but I think that pressure really helped me kind of develop who I am as a person. It gives me this opportunity now to be able to talk about the game. This is a lot better than getting hit, so I love being behind the mic rather than being behind that helmet and shoulder pads.
But you were behind the helmet, wearing those shoulder pads, and you played that game, and you played it at the highest level.
Yeah, to be able to do that and to say, even though, 2 years with the Tennessee Titans and playing some big-time college football, it's given me that opportunity to see the game from a different level and to see these guys and how the game has evolved over the last couple of years, that where we're at now, to see the two quarterbacks that are in this game, to see that the quarterback position is in good hands with Jimmy Garoppolo, and you look at Patrick Mahomes. I mean, this is what you want when you have Brady and guys like him and Breeze that are on their way out, that the NFL is in good hands at the quarterback position.
How much are you seeing the evolution of that position now? Because Brady's always been that pocket guy, and the pocket guy was always the one that kind of worked. But now, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, we're seeing athletes at this position do things we've never seen before, where it was centered around it, and they continue to do it. We saw Robert RG3, and they just kind of shut it down for fear of injury in year two.
You know what? You have to still have that fear of injury when you're talking about that position. That's why the quarterback position gets paid like they get paid. But, I mean, eventually you're going to take some hits, and we've seen it in quarterbacks like Cam Newton. It doesn't matter how big you are. You have guys that are coming at you at that speed, at that rate. Injury is going to happen. You have to find ways as a player, especially at that position now, when we see these guys that are, the Patrick Mahomeses and Deshaun Watsons. You have to be careful and pick your places of how you want to run and be smart to be able to get down. And that's always easier said than done when you're fighting for another yard and a big guy's coming to hit you. So to see how it's changed, these guys aren't just able to throw the football anymore. They're able to run, and that's what gives defenses fits. They don't know how to kind of game plan for a guy that is a dual threat, and that's what we're seeing in the NFL now.
How much grumbling is there in Chicago right now? Because, Patrick
Jack, you
Mahomes.
wanted to get off on this note already, man? I didn't think I was going to talk Trubisky till about maybe day 3. No, but I'll let you finish. Go ahead.
Well, yeah. I mean, he was in that same draft as Mitch Trubisky, and there were a couple of really good options there, and the Bears made the move up to get Trubisky.
Yeah.
And while the story's not finished yet, there's still more to be written.
Yes, I would say Watson and Mahomes are on another tier right now, and rightfully so. The only thing that gets me about going to get Trubisky, and I love the kid, I have a relationship with him. I think he's an unbelievable young man. He loves the game of football. He studies hard. But when I saw the other two guys, when I saw Mahomes and I saw Watson, all I had to do was watch the national championship games, Clemson versus Alabama, to know what kind of quarterback you were getting. And to me, it's hard because Trubisky is still a work in progress.
All right, we want to bring in somebody else right now because special – just the greatest picture I've ever seen.
Yes.
So Chris Hagan is one of our members of our crew here for Next Star covering the Super Bowl. He's the sports director at the Fox in Indianapolis. And JB, can you put up that picture? So Chris was a babysitter in his younger days at times.
Babysitter. That was my official title, yeah.
Professional babysitters. And one of the people you got to babysit was a young Jarrett Payton.
Well, what's amazing is I've only babysat one person in my whole life, and it was Jarrett. He doesn't remember much about it. In fact, I still haven't been paid for that gig. But my dad and his dad, Walter, were doing some business, so the parents went out to dinner and do things that parents do. I was like 12 years old. I had a lot more hair then. Jared had a lot more hair even back then.
Not as much.
And so there you were. I babysat him, and I've told that story for years. I've had a chance to talk with him a couple times about it. He doesn't remember much, but of course, when you meet one of your heroes, being a kid from Mississippi, Walter Payton was the guy. Got a chance to meet him a few times. Babysat. Jared had a bloody nose. Was not my fault. I can guarantee that. I tell Walter the next day, and he gives me a slug right in the arm. I still have some nerve damage from that, but I carry it with me with pride. But, yeah, it just goes to tell you, the Next Star Nation, we've been together for a long time.
Yeah.
It's a close-knit group. And, Jack, all year long we've been talking about being big game bound. We didn't know who was big game bound.
Right.
But now we do. We are here. The teams are here. It's my 10th Super Bowl. I couldn't be more excited. And I can't wait to hear. I'll be watching you guys from out in the field, hear what you have to say, talking to these guests, these interviews, because as you can attest, I mean, doesn't get much better than being in Miami. Doesn't get bigger than the Super Bowl. And then you never know who you're going to see. You never know who's going to walk through those doors. You got some guys trying to get in the Hall of Fame, some former Colts, Edgerrin James, Reggie Wayne played their ball here at the U. This is an exciting week for me individually, exciting week for everybody here, and hopefully you guys will be bringing that and, you know, sending that out to the Next Star Nation. And I think it's one of these things, a must-see webcast all week long.
How crazy is it when you see pictures, and I'm sure this isn't the first time it's happened,
No.
of you, your dad, and some fan.
It's it just goes to show the reach that my father had in his short lifespan. I mean, 45 years, and to be able to impact and leave an impact on people's lives is pretty crazy. And there was no cell phones back then. It was those cranked up cameras. And people remember. They remember him. I was just speaking before I left Chicago on Saturday, and this lady came up to me and showed me a picture of her 3 kids sitting with my dad, taking a picture in first class when they were on their way back from Florida. And the lady told me that my dad talked about me the whole entire time that they were on the way back, and that he said, I would take a picture with them. Let's wait till everybody gets off the plane. And he sat, and he was the last person off the plane. He made sure that he took a picture with those kids. And it's those lasting memories that live on forever, and it's helped keep my dad's legacy alive. And the Man of the Year award here that we give out every single year alongside Nationwide, that's helped as well. So I've been coming to Super Bowl since '99, since they changed the award. I don't know if I've looked forward to a matchup more than this one of two teams that I think both have offenses that are intriguing and defenses that 49ers defense has been the most consistent, I think, all season long. The Chiefs defense has gotten better, especially in the postseason. So I want to see how these two teams match up on the football field.
And real quick to put a bow on talking about your father, we talk to athletes. A lot of times the guy's one way on the microphone when the camera's on, a different way off. Your dad made me feel like I knew him the first time I met him. And we were there for an event. He signed every autograph. He took every picture. He made every person feel special. And I'm sure there's people like me still talking about it to this day.
Oh, it's amazing, man. It's amazing. It's hard to put into words. I've been getting chills all morning long because this is what you want to hear. You want to hear from people who had a chance to meet him, and, you know, being young, it's cool to have stories like that I can hold on to and pass along to my kids.
And so I know you talked about the Man of the Year award, and how special is it to be a part of that, and that being your father's legacy?
If you would have told me in '99 that we'd be, sitting here in 2020 and the award would be as big as it is now, I would have told you you're crazy. There's no way it's going to be this big. And to see that the NFL has taken this award and really put it on a different pedestal, I mean, everybody kind of waits for the MVP, but people are waiting to see who's the Man of the Year because you got to highlight this. There's 32 guys that get nominated from each team, and all these guys are doing great work in their communities. Sometimes that gets lost because of all the other stuff that we see on the outside, the bad stuff that sells. And all of us being in TV, we know that that's what people kind of want to see. It sheds light on what these guys are doing in their communities, how they're giving back, and the service that they're doing. And we know what kind of football players they are. We don't necessarily know what kind of men they are off the field. And so you're talking about behind the mic, in front of the cameras. These guys that are nominated, they're doing things the right way on and off the field, and it just shows a big thank you to Roger Goodell and the NFL and Nationwide for really kind of putting big momentum behind this, and it's grown so much over the years.
And what's great is you talked about, there's only one MVP, but there are 32 guys that get to carry that banner. And it's a big deal back in Indianapolis just to be the Walter Payton Man of the Year nominee for the Colts.
It's huge.
That's a huge deal. So you have 32 guys with taking pride in that. And I think that carries it on to the next generation when guys realize, man, this is a big deal to give back. This is a big deal. And then you see like the silhouette that goes on those jerseys. I mean, like you said, that's a legacy that's going to go on and on and on.
I want to see more of those. I do. I want to see more because what? We just had another one just step away, Eli Manning. And he had it on his jersey for a couple of years now. And, a guy like Larry Fitzgerald is coming back. And you want to see that on there. And just to watch and see my son, he's watching TV and we'll see J.J. Watt. And then it sees it on his jersey and he's like, Dad, look there's Grandpa's trophy right there. And those are the things you want to see. So hopefully we're going to get a chance now to have a new guy have that on his jersey and that he'll wear that for the rest of his career.
I know you've developed relationships with a lot of the guys that have won this.
Oh, yeah.
What is the thing that they'll often say when they get to put that patch on their jersey?
Just had a conversation before the show started, and one of my guys, Lawrence Holmes from Chicago, he was talking about he was at Charles Tillman's house, and they were going through all of his memorabilia, and he said one of the biggest things, the number one thing that he has is that statue and that award, and it sits there and what it means. And a lot of these guys, they love it, but the one thing it brings it closer to is they get a chance to meet our family, and they want to know, tell us stories about your dad. So we always tell them stories, and they go, are you kidding me? And that brings them closer to him a little bit, and that namesake. And so it is. It's a pretty cool moment for our family, and every single year to see that his legacy is still alive, and this is a part of it. And that in the biggest game, as you were talking about, Chris, this is what everybody's watching. Everybody waits for my sister and I to be on the stage at NFL Honors and then on the field before the game, and it's become tradition for our family. And hopefully we can keep doing it, and then the grandkids someday will be able to take over, and they'll get a chance to do it.
So, Jarrett, when we talked to you during the season, it was right around the time that they were going to release the 32.
Yeah.
You shared a story that was just incredible, that kind of told us about your father, and it was the shopping trip.
Yeah. So it was, I was 12 years old, and my dad came into my room as I was listening to Pearl Jam, and I was headbanging, and as you can see by the webcast, I have no hair. And he told me, let's go, and he ended up taking me to Toys R Us. And all I saw was brake lights and exhaust. I was trying to figure out why people weren't shopping 4 days before Christmas. And my dad went inside and told me that he shut down Toys R Us for an hour, and he told me that I can go and get whatever I wanted. So I did. I was getting myself everything that you can imagine, from baseball bats. I got myself a tennis racket, and I don't even play tennis. And all those toys that I thought were going to my house, my dad drove about 15 minutes down the road to his apartment complex and knocked on the door and told me that this dad who lost his job, that those gifts were going to their family after he lost his job, wasn't able to provide Christmas for his family. And it was that moment when I figured out what my passion was. It was giving back in service.
That's awesome. Just awesome.
You think about that's about remembering where he came from and remembering where others are. But not to take us off of the topic and take us off of football. But before I want to talk about when we lost your father. I know people remember where they were. I remember hearing that news, and yesterday, unfortunately, in the world of sports, we got news. We'll all remember where we were with Kobe Bryant, and I just wanted to share, a little insight of what I had from that was first championship he ever won was the Lakers and Pacers. I was at that game that night, and you knew he was a special guy then. The 5 championships, and just a guy, when they would come to town to play the Pacers, you're going to see a lot more Kobe jerseys than you're going to see Pacer jerseys. He was one of those guys that transcended the Lakers, transcended the league, transcended everything, and I just wanted to get some of your thoughts before I run about when you lose a special guy, an icon, like a Walter Payton, like a Kobe Bryant. That's something that it shows you how big sports is, not just for the games themselves, but throughout society as well.
Yeah, I had a hard time yesterday. I'm still having a hard time processing this whole entire Kobe situation. It's tragic, and it felt like it's a different day and age from when my dad passed, when I was seeing on Twitter people telling me where they were. Now we all live by our phones, so we're getting this information, and some of the information is true, some of it's not, and so you don't know whether or not to take it for a grain of salt or whatever it is. I'm trying to figure it out, but as we started to find out more, you reflect on the man. I reflect more on the man than I did the basketball player. I know the accomplishments when you look at him. There's a long list of them. But the man, the trials and tribulations he went through, not all of it was good. We all know that, but you start to think about the man and what he was doing, especially now, life after basketball, and trying to really get back to that next generation that's coming up, basketball players and kids. And to me, he was so involved. That's what I started to see from him, is like how involved he was with his kids, with his daughter in basketball. It's the same way that I am with my son. And so it just brought it full circle now to be a father and to know that his family is grieving and what they're going through. It's a tough time when we lose a legend, but I think it also brings it back in perspective about how short life is. And none of us know when we're going to go, and that we have to really, truly just cherish every single day that we have while we're here with the ones we love.
Yeah, the picture that I saw on Twitter was from the Mamba Academy. Yeah. And they broke the news to all the kids, and there were hundreds in the gym. And they all got down on a knee, and that just tells you about his legacy was going to be greater after the game. Ultra competitor, but he was just beginning to do all this. Not just beginning, but you could start to see when a guy like that gives back.
Yeah, he was doing something that was special, and he had this. Anytime we know, as covering sports and being around sports, when you can say one name, Kobe. You say Michael, you think of Michael Jordan first. When you can do that, that means you did something special. And Kobe was just, I believe he did some special things in his life, but I felt like he had a lot more to go. But his legacy is going to live on. It's going to live on, and that Mamba mentality is something that I've taken in my life. And I'm a huge Michael Jordan fan. Grew up, Jordan's the best. But for kids that came after me, they got a chance to see Kobe, and that's the closest thing to Jordan that you're going to see, because he modeled his game right after MJ. And so these kids got a chance to really see, and the impact that this one young man said was talking about how he was outside of the Staples Center, and he was just talking about how Kobe impacted his life. He never met him before, but from afar, how he changed his life. That's saying something about a legacy and about someone that was making a difference.
All right, Chris, I know we've got to bid you adieu. You've got some work to do.
I have real work to do as I start choking on coffee. You guys have fun here on Radio Row. I'll go handle the business, and looking forward to seeing you guys all week long.
Appreciate it. Thank you for joining us, Chris. Thanks for sharing that picture and story. All right, we've got one other member of our right now we're going to bring in a very special guest. Jarrett, you know this guy. You've played with him, so I'm going to let you introduce him.
Oh, man.
Lofa, how are you?
Lofa. I always mess up your last name. Todd Tupu. And Lofa.
Are we going to wait for Stedman?
What's it? I don't know. Is it steady?
Waiting for.
I don't think so. Is it?
I think
Are we ready?
we'll go.
We can roll.
We'll go.
So go ahead, Jack. We know, Lofa, the career you had in the NFL. I look at you now, and we talked about it earlier today. You still look like you can play. I know if you wanted to get back out there, you could. But now, life after football, totally different path for you. But still, in your mind, it coincides with football just a little bit. And talk about what you got going on and how life after football is treating you.
Yeah, the transition's interesting for all of us, and mine directly led back into football, which brought me to Seattle. I was blessed to coach with the Seahawks for 2 years, got to coach Bobby and KJ, get a bunch of more wins under my belt. It was incredible. And then I stuck around the area after because my two littlest 8 and 5-year-old boys, I was just missing too much time with them. So I stayed put. Ended up investing in some real estate in the hemp and cannabis space, and so just started learning more about the business and industry, and then just started hearing more and more about the benefits of this thing called CBD. And so I was just over and over, and amazing success stories. So I was like, okay, I got to try it. Because at the time I was not feeling great. 10 surgeries, 15 concussions. That's why I exited the game so quickly. I was joking. I was here for a good time, but I was here for a short time.
Yeah. 15 concussions.
I'd say that's conservative estimate between college and NFL. I don't really believe I got one in high school. I got one. I remember that one. That was bad. But then it just becomes your norm, right? Yeah. And so when you're in the eye of the storm, it's like, oh, well, there's nothing new. I've been there, done that. So just continue to just operate the best you know how. But it was directly impacting the way in which I went about my day.
Yeah, it is. It's so difficult because when you're trying to play, you got to find a way to mask some of the pain. You got to be able to be available because when you're not available, there's somebody else that's right behind you that can take your spot while you're out, and it's so hard. And I look at my father's career and how he had to manage, play 13 years, only missed one game that was rookie year, and he played the rest. And never had a chance to really ask him, Dad, how tough was it with all this other stuff? And then I play, and I know that, you're using some of the shots to either play the game, the Toradol shots. Yep. And as you're playing, you're all mixed in. You don't think about the repercussions of what that can do to your body down the line. You're more focused on just playing the game.
That's all we know. And, that warrior mentality, that's, just largely how it was. Second generation myself, too. My dad played. He had 13 years with the Patriots and one with the Rams. And I saw it, firsthand, just like you did. And, and towards the end, when my dad passed away about a decade ago now, in February, it'll be 10 years. And, he was dealing with a lot of trauma still. And so that's, we see soon-to-be Hall of Famer Luke Kuechly just retired, phenomenal career, but, walking away while he can still walk, And so, kudos to him for making that decision.
I think about that. When you look at these guys that are retiring and stepping away from the game so young, it's eye-opening. I know people that maybe not played the game, they're like, oh, man, why is he – but you played that position. You know what it's all about. What is it? It opened up your eyes just a little bit more, and you see it a little bit differently than the fans out there.
It's a demanding position, from the durability aspect and just the cognitive, what you have to be, alert for. And when that's ultimately like what happened to me and my demise of my career, I felt like, my processor started slowing down. And that's, largely what I'm so grateful for in finding this product and bringing it to market, that I've gotten better with time, and I've almost reversed the process of what I was going through. And you got to share that with everybody. You can, man. You can't, keep that to yourself. So I'm, blessed to be doing what I'm doing, hearing a lot of phenomenal stories about the product, and just going to keep going, man. Keep advocating for it.
Lofa, you talked about some of the effects. What were some of the effects on you? What were some of the things that you dealt with that people who've not gone through this?
Oh, forgetfulness, so short-term memory in terms of cognitive ability, attention span, being able to stay focused and stay in the moment, which, why we named it Zone In, to fight the stigma of, that's weed, that's cannabis. It is of the cannabis genus, the plant, hemp derived though, and, legal in all 50 states, and, it's made me the best version of myself. I still have years of my, playing, and I didn't know it, but they were locked away because the mind wasn't functioning on, a high level. And the body, that's where it all starts. And the body was just getting the message they were receiving, like, we can't do this anymore.
That's the hard. I think that's the hardest part is you trying to play, and you just talk about just everything kind of slowing down a little bit. You could feel it in your body. What the stigmatism of cannabis, hemp, all that stuff. It's been around in society for a long period of time. But when you look at it as a football player, I've seen a lot of different people talk about why should I be putting maybe these pills that I'm getting rather than there's an alternative. Do you see you talked about it, there's going to be conversations after the season about CBD and the use of it for their athletes?
Absolutely. And in advocating, I've come across people who are not, pro hemp and cannabis, and, rightfully so, it's their choice, but making it available as an alternative, maybe their comment is that the science isn't there yet. Okay, yeah, it's not, but I'm living proof that it has reversed what I was going through. I was 280 pounds just a couple of years ago, not able to go to the gym. It's crazy. I can't even, place myself back in that moment anymore because it's so foreign to me. But, the science is there on the anti-inflammatories and the opiates, and that is not good for us. So long-term use, short-term use, that is – it's masking the pain. It's not helping you deal with the pain. And that's what I believe CBD is doing. It is just helping me navigate, more efficiently, helping me process information quicker. It's incredible.
Lofa, how big is the push to get this legalized in the NFL, and who leads it?
It starts with, Kyle Turley's been at the forefront, Ricky Williams. You see a bunch. Gronk's got a CBD company. Well, the common factor, we all play ball. We all know trauma. We are experts of pain. My man, you know what I'm talking about. And so, and we know, what's led us, to feel like our best selves. And, Gronk's 29, so, he could probably still play anyways. But I feel like mentally and physically, I feel like I could go back out there. Now, how long it would last? I don't know. But what I'm saying is I feel like I could get back in there.
Now, JB, we haven't introduced you to JB in our team yet, but JB, I know we've got a picture that we want to share with our viewers.
We do.
And I just wonder if we can see
this.
Is
it me
here.
at 280?
This photo.
This is Jarrett. Duke and me.
We just snuck this in the show. You ready? Hold on.
I know
Stand by.
I got something for him too.
Oh, you got the video? You got the video
He's got
too?
the video.
Unbelievable.
I found the video.
Oh, God, bring the feet. What are you doing to
I know, and I get up, and I'm that hit my back, and I am, there's the picture right there.
Oh, God. That's a horrible angle. That's not how it went down, folks.
And just thinking about that time, man, and knowing you and to be able to play at this level, Lofa, I'm telling you, man, this is – I scored on this drive.
On that drive you did.
And I had 2 touchdowns. And I think about this moment. It's not about the picture. It's about going up against the best of the best, man. And to say that I had a chance to do that and the respect level that I had for you in the game and watching film and knowing what you were all about, to have that photo, to me, it's not even to brag about it. It's just to say that, look who I was going up against. That right there,
respect,
that's the honor right there.
Like my boy Marshawn said, everybody gets got.
Yeah.
You play long enough, it's going to happen.
It's going to happen. If you think about the game now from when you played and just to see even the short period of time how this game is changing, talk about the evolution of the game and what you're seeing. The teams aren't really running the football anymore. You see a San Francisco team that got to the big game of running the football. To me, to win a championship, you not only have to play good defense, you got to be able to control the game on the ground and run the football.
And they're going to have to do that, and keep Mahomes and his opportunity, limit those opportunities, because that kid is unbelievable. Erased a 24-point deficit in less than 15 minutes. It's, I know, everybody was texting and tweeting like, "Oh, it's over," and I was like, "Okay." I wouldn't count this. The kid's got a whole 3 quarters, and then before half, I got in the car and I was going over to a friend's house. By the time I got to that house, it was 28-24. So defense wins championships. They got their work cut out for them with Tyreek and Kelsey. It should be an exciting matchup, but I know it's got to anger you that to see these guys not run as much, but. Kudos to Shanahan, 15 straight runs. That right? Like if they can't stop it, keep doing it.
Yeah, if you can keep the opposing quarterback off the field, you right there. You control the game. You control the clock.
Yeah. Well, and like we think back to our matchup, that game you just showed a highlight from. You know, you guys were running the ball pretty well on us too. We were number 5 rush defense, you know, that year, and luckily we had the number 1 offense too, so we made it out of that matchup. But you and I think was it Chris Brown?
Chris Brown.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, these guys are just coming downhill. I was like, what's going on? It was a fight.
It takes a good offensive line.
Yeah.
You got to have you got to win in the trenches. And San Francisco, their offensive line, I give them kudos. Now, can they go up against another? When you look at the offenses that have gotten them trouble, especially with you see it's quarterbacks that can move and that are mobile. And can you do that against? And they stopped. Kansas City stopped Derrick Henry. Can they do it again with this offense, especially this wide zone?
Yeah, Henry was on a roll there too. Yeah, that was incredible to watch. It was like 180 yards in 3 straight games.
Insane.
Incredible.
So you're in the 49ers film sessions right now. What's that like, trying to get ready for Patrick Mahomes?
For Mahomes, what do you do? I mean, I can't really go man coverage on Tyreek, and not unless you get a double, a safety floating over the top. It's going to be interesting to watch. You just better hope that you got to be able to rush 4 and not send an extra, burn a zone or extra defender coming in on blitz. Get pressure with 4, and what's tough, how do you stop that no-look pass? Like, he's looking this way. So I have no answer for that.
And depending on where you're blitzing from, if you're blitzing anywhere up the middle, you're using linebackers, next thing you know, you got to worry about the middle of the field as well. And that's where a guy like Travis Kelce will burn you, right? He'll take advantage of the middle of the field and like a wide receiver, and then next thing you know, they have too many options.
Absolutely.
That's the hard part.
And he's an extra wide receiver out there. I mean, he does a phenomenal job of blocking, but, I mean, you watch him run the routes, and it's true craftsmanship out there. He's just, slicing up defenses.
Well, do you like the Super Bowl matchup? Is this got you intrigued and ready to watch?
I mean, being a Hawk, you can't really, root. I can root for Richard Sherman because that's my guy.
Yes.
So the cool thing about this matchup is him or Frank Clark, who I got the honor of coaching both of these guys in Seattle, and phenomenal guys and human beings, and one of them will come away with a ring. Sherm's got one. And I've been saying, that's why San Fran's in it, because he was telling them, how it goes down up in Seattle.
Okay, I think we might need to release you to your next interview.
I'll
Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Hey, man.
My man.
Appreciate you. We need to talk.
Absolutely, brother.
All right, so right now, thank you again. We want to introduce you to JB Biunno. He is Mr. Wizard.
Yes,
for
he is.
Next Star, and he is running the show and making sure that
let me tell you something about
Man.
this guy, JB, man.
Yeah.
Man.
Every time you see him, it's like we were doing just a web meeting. He was behind some screens, had a microphone in front of him. This is his setup. This is where he
Hi, Mom.
feels at his best. I love it.
I like it. If I'm not surrounded by $10,000 worth of technology, I just feel lost. Like you guys need a microphone in front of your face. I need to be surrounded by technology at all times. Speaking of technology, Twitter, have you heard of it, guys? Yeah,
Yes.
We're using it to ask a big question here on Big Game Bound. Who are you rooting for in the big game? I want to get here to our results of this poll, everybody. As we look here at Travis Kelce, who Lofa was just talking a little bit about. So we asked, who is America's team? Who are you rooting for at home? Maybe you're not in New England, or New England fans, of course, upset that Tom Brady isn't in it, and Bill Belichick isn't going to be on the sidelines for Super Bowl 54. If you're just the average American fan, who's your dog in this race? Who do you like? Guys, I'm gonna throw it to you. What would your guess be? Who's the favorite team of America? Because I have the poll results right here on my screen.
my guess would be Kansas City because it's been 50 years.
My guess would be the 49ers, just because of the history with the organization, especially in the 80s and 90s, of people getting a chance to see those teams.
Guys, we're gonna come out right here because I don't know if we can zoom in here. We can actually show you guys the poll results. There they are. Kansas City Chiefs, 64% there. That's America's pick. We have Next Star Nation helping us out with the tweets. 1,400 votes and counting. Still several days left to vote if you guys would like to continue to vote. But about 2/3 of America, you guys, polling for the Chiefs. What do you think?
It doesn't surprise me. Doesn't surprise me at all. But it just sometimes when you think about it, it has been 50 years. It's a big time, and I think their Chiefs fans and Chiefs Kingdom is waiting for a championship.
All right, now if you see on our screen, we've got another very special guest with us, former Detroit Lion quarterback Eric Hipple, and he was a guest with us on Big Game Bound during the season. Eric, you may know this guy. I know you played against his dad, Jarrett Payton. Eric Hipple.
It's an honor.
It's an honor, sir. Listen, I know. I had to do my research back. I wasn't a football fan back in those days, so for me growing up to understand one of your best games was against the Bears.
Yeah, it was my first start. It was wonderful. I got to tell you though, one of the worst hits that I've ever had was because of your father. Now that sounds weird, but it's because I tried to stay in bounds like he does when he ran, and that's what I decided to do as a quarterback. Was the stupidest thing I've ever done in my life. And Tampa Bay took my helmet off, blasted. It's on YouTube. Worst hit ever, and it was just.
Don't follow his lead. I'll tell you that right now. Don't follow his lead.
No matter what.
Quarterbacks waltz out of bounds. You guys don't need those hits. Playing that position in the NFL, what's it like just having that control? Like you're the maestro of an orchestra.
Well, if you've got everything going for you, in other words, everybody's on the same page and the team believes in you, it's the best position to be in the world. Just the command that you have when you look in the huddle and everybody's looking at you and you can feel it, right? And then when things are going smooth, it's just like walking on top of cloud nine. I mean, you can throw the ball, you see things, you just feel really clear, you know what I mean? And you know you're protected by your guys. However, if you don't have all that,
it's
and
tough.
occasionally Detroit Lions have run in that position, right?
Yeah, once or twice.
Then it's a really tough position because you're getting booed, you know what I mean? You're expecting to get hit, you know, and so you're not able to hold on the ball as long as you would like to hold on to it to complete stuff. So it's either this, you're a hero or a zero, as many people would say.
All right, so going back, even now, and talking to quarterbacks that I know and how they study the game now, they got so much technology, so much stuff to watch. What was your preparation like watching and getting ready for a game?
Well, we did the film study, you know, like they do. Every team gets, 3 games worth of film. So we did that piece, but it was completely different while you're during the game. Where we're at right now, they get, on their tablet fan, they get, instant screenshot of what just happened. So that wasn't there. So communication was still a lot with the booth on trying to explain what you saw or you did. But there is a problem, I think, with the too much technology too, where you overwhelm somebody's. As you know, man, when you're on the field, it is all, it's you're not thinking. It's all, automatic because that's what you train for. You practice that way, so it's going automatic, so you don't have to think. And if you overload somebody, then if they're trying to think or trying to guess, like, is this what they were thinking about? Is this what they showed me the film for? Is this that play? Then all of a sudden that gets in the way. And I actually watched Matthew Stafford go through this one year, where they throw too much stuff at him, and all of a sudden you could see him, and the ball would be this much behind, this much late, because just that hesitation is that much difference, right? And then they would get towards the end of the game, and he'd come back because now he's just winging out there like like just having fun. Yeah. So
the Detroit Lions. I mean, it's the Super Bowl 54, and they haven't been here. Do you see any hope in the future? I mean, they've had a really good quarterback in Matt Stafford.
They have, and I think he's been kind of the hope. We've always come up. We've got some good wide receivers that are always, apparent. I think this year we've got the signs of a really good tight end. A great tight end that's going to be helpful for us. The disappointment has been in the defense towards the end when all of a sudden we let the game get away from us, and that's really kind of disturbing. But yeah, I think there's hope. I think Patricia, if he can put together the staff and get his mindset through. He's had resistance, from players. He doesn't have the background of what Belichick was, but came in with that attitude. And I think that's
was it a staff issue? I know they made a lot of changes, but
I don't know if it's so much of a staff issue as much as it is, hey, from the very top, do something, or it's your job, right? And so we're going to make some changes here and try and put it back together.
And especially right now, when you think about it, Jackie, it's funny because covering the Bears, one of the biggest things is looking at the NFC North. It can be had right now. I mean, I like where Minnesota is, but not super, super dominant. Green Bay is not that dominant. Yet you still have Aaron Rodgers. I still have to figure out how they only have one Super Bowl championship with Aaron Rodgers. The Bears are trying to figure out their mess. It might be a good time right now for Patricia to figure things out as the NFC North is still kind of all up in arms.
It's going to take leadership, and I'm not necessarily saying coaching leadership at this point in time. It's going to take player leadership to pull out of this mess, where you got a bunch of guys working together to pull it, to step up to pull this thing out. Because I think that's really what you really need, to turn the team around.
I'll tell you this: not only that, you might have to bring in some veterans that have experience, that are winners. Because if you don't have that around your organization, that will definitely bring you down. It's so amazing to see what happened when the Khalil Mack trade went through and when what people were saying and thinking because of a guy who his ability. He might not have the resume from the Raiders, but just having a guy like that, the impact, it changed the way going. This is one of the best players in the NFL. We all have to step our game up. And sometimes it takes to be able to acquire a guy like that, to be able to get the mindset different in your organization.
I agree with you, because it's that type of leadership, like I said, it can change things. I will say this, and this has to do with the theory of ostracism, when you get ostracized out. So if I walk into a team as a coach and say, hey, you know what, you're expendable, right? And I show you that, you're not having a loyalty. Now, that might win if you're winning every game and you've got 6 Super Bowls. And I can say that because it's the outlier that says, okay, I'm not welcome here. But when you start doing that, all of a sudden, the one who you're ostracizing and punishing sits over here and he starts accumulating other guys that have been ostracized. And pretty soon you've got this underwhelming, core of guys that are starting to push back, right?
I've seen it.
Yeah, exactly.
I've seen it. I've been on both sides of being in a locker room where you're used to winning, and it just was like a reoccurring thing. It was a cycle. Guys were coming in. When I was here at Miami, we knew what it was. We were all about winning. I lost 7 games in my whole entire college career. I get to Tennessee with the Titans, and it was like almost every man for himself. And we didn't have that unity, and it brought us down. We had players, we had guys that could do it, but we were just not on the same level. And that right there just goes to show you how big it is to be able to have those guys that aren't talking and what coach is saying and everybody on the same page.
How big of a mistake is it? Because I'll go back to the Lions when they won that playoff game against the Cowboys. And then shortly after that, some of the guys that were the alpha dogs in the locker rooms, the Chris Spielman, they let him go in free agency. So you lost real locker room, Kevin Glover. They lost some real leaders in that locker room, and then all of a sudden they just kind of went away.
Well, and we know that there's value, right, in a player, even if he's not the best player, but there's value in his leadership. They made him even better than the best player. And I say that. I mean, when they let go of Golden Tate, for example, right, and they traded him off because there's free agency and all that stuff. But get rid of him. That was a blow to the fans.
Yeah.
They loved the guy, right? I mean, and he was that leadership, and people gravitate towards him. And also, you remove him out of the equation. It's like, oh, okay, so what does that mean? And yeah.
Because we're rebuilding again.
Yeah.
So I want to pivot a little bit, because you've taken a leadership for the NFL with mental health. And, you've been through so much, Eric, and to be able to talk about it is incredible and strong. So what's the biggest challenge for somebody that's dealt with suicidal thoughts or suicide in the family? Is it the stigma? Or what is the biggest challenge you have to go through on a daily basis?
Well, it's multifaceted. The main thing is the biggest challenge is to keep going when things look really, really dark. And the only way you can do that, and we can call it resilience, there's a bunch of tag words for it. The only way you really can do that is if there's hope. And what brings people hope is example of somebody who's made it through something. What brings people hope is that there's somebody there lending a hand, okay, that puts their hand on their shoulder at the time that they really, really need it. It's making eye contact with somebody and really showing that you care. Those little pieces of hope is really what pulls people through. And I think just in the messaging, trying to be an example of somebody who's gone through a lot, and maybe I should thank the Detroit Lions for putting me through a lot, so I have this resilience. I'm not sure, but my brother used to say, "Oh, I made you tough because I used to beat on me when I was a kid," right? Yeah. He goes, "I made you a star." I go, "No, it doesn't work that way." But hey, but the point being is, it's that hope that you have that things will be better because somebody's there for you, and that's that support system.
I'm thankful for you sharing your story and being out there, because it's tough. It's hard. And I think for a guy who's played in the NFL, been in the league, it's tough to be able to be that macho man to say there's stuff that's going on with you, and being able to have somebody there to be able to talk about it, have that hope, but also have someone that you can maybe talk about the things that are going on with you, because a lot of these guys, they're human beings. They're all dealing with stuff on and off the field.
That's just it, and I think that's really important part. You know, after the impact.org, after the impact was built around players, okay, helping each other, but also reaching out to veterans. Helping veterans because they go through the same type of transitional issues when they're there. And then just recently we added the former president of Dow Chemical, Matt Davis, who came in and has, he ran, a $60 billion plus company, right? And so for him and his transition, we find out, oh my gosh, we all kind of got this stuff going through, but it's a human thing. And so that means that everybody, falls in that category. Whether it might be a tragedy, and we saw a tragedy yesterday, right, where how it affects so many people and that shocking stuff that goes on and what his wife's going to deal with and all. So it could be any moment, at any time, at anybody. And so I think that's why there, as far as the humanistic side of it, is to be able to be there and to reach out a hand and stuff when you need to and say, you're not alone.
And the advice you'd give somebody that's going through something right now, not feeling good about themselves, or what's the best piece of advice you can give?
I went through at one point in time in transition where I thought I'd be better off not being around. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I don't know if I want to call it giving up, or as much as I thought my family would be better off without me, and I jumped out of a car that was going 75 miles an hour. I survived that. After going through that, I realized, and after watching my son's death and the pain that's left behind, I know, okay, that is not the way to go. The way to go is to hang on. Keep hanging on. Keep hanging on. Keep hanging on. Your life is worth it. Life is a joy to live, right? And if you don't have it right now, then keep reaching, because you will have it. And it's up to the rest of us to reach out and give that person hope. Because once they get it, right, and they pull forward, then they can turn around and give it back. But it's just that not giving up is the best thing I can give.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm telling you, just to share your story it's a big plus for people out there. I mean, you got to know somebody that's going through it and to push on through. And it's something that now it impacts all of us. We all know somebody that's dealing with some type of mental illness, and it hits home, especially with all our families. And something that I deal with family members that are going through it, and I keep telling them all the time, just keep going. It's you can't give up. It's just like anything else that you do in life. And the loved ones, they need you around. So, and there's people that have grabbed your story and really have lived on through your story.
I appreciate that, man. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that.
Eric,
yeah.
Thank you for joining us. I know we got to release you to another interview. Keep spreading that
Don't
word.
say release, man. Don't say that for one word.
We'll never release you.
We got to cut you now. I'm sorry. Go.
Here, give me your playbook. You got to go.
Right.
You're out of here. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
It's a pleasure.
Right.
Great to have you. Thanks for joining us this season on Big Game Bound as well.
Thank you.
Wow. Come on, Jack.
Isn't he unbelievable?
Jack, I mean, it's day one, man, and we already have
We're going deep.
Some great people. Yeah, we're going deep, but we're not even talking about truly the game. We're talking about people's lives and stuff that they're going through. And to me, it's just it was a perfect day one for us to kind of get everything on the table and put.
But we're not done just yet, Jarrett.
I know.
We're not done just yet.
I know. I'm just saying though,
because we got some fans in New Orleans that are waiting to hear about the Saints.
I'm ready for that too.
Okay,
let's go.
You guys ready?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
All right, so our team focus.
Yeah. All right, everybody. So we are talking New Orleans Saints with Jack Doles, Jarrett Payton. I'm JB Biunno. Here's what we're talking about, guys. If you're joining us from Louisiana, if you're joining us from the southeastern United States, if you are a big New Orleans Saints fan, you're just thinking, what gives? When is it going to be time for Drew Brees to get that final ring right off into the sunset? Guys, we've been talking about this a little bit off stream, but they might be a piece or two away. If you're Drew Brees, if you're a New Orleans Saints fan, what is on your wish list this offseason to get Drew Brees back to the promised land? Super Bowl 55 in Tampa next year, where I'm from. What do the Saints need to get to Tampa next year?
I think they need one thing, Jarrett. Luck.
Yeah,
Just a little bit of luck.
yeah, they haven't had any luck.
Andrew Luck?
No.
No.
I'm with you, Jack. I think they need luck, but I think number one, they got to figure out the situation with Drew Brees.
Right.
And I think that's probably the number one focus for this organization is figuring out with Drew, what does Drew want to do? What is that going to cost? He's made a lot of money throughout his NFL career. Is it really money that he's looking for, or is he at that point where I think over the last few years of being so close and needing some luck, he understands that there's pieces around this organization they have to get better. They need another wide receiver, a number 2 receiver. Can they get that? I feel like they've always had receivers, but not Michael Thomas, not that number 1 guy. They have that. Now you need a number 2. Can they figure that out? Because offensively, they got to get better at that position.
Yeah, Michael Thomas is the best receiver on the planet
I'm saying,
right now.
so
Unbelievable.
you need a number 2 to be able to coincide with him.
Maybe one of those marquee tight ends that you're seeing in the Super Bowl this week.
Yeah.
Kittle and with Kelsey.
Every team needs one of those. Every team needs one. I mean, you got to have a tight end because it's so prominent in all these offenses, and we've seen it in this Andy Reid scheme of how big that tight end is, not just in the passing game, but also as a blocker as well.
So when the general manager sits down with Drew Brees, is he going to walk in there and say, "Can you give us a Tom Brady discount?" Or is he going to offer him the house to stay?
I don't think you can offer him the house. If you want to be competitive and you want to get over this hump that you've been on the last 2 seasons of trying to get to the promised land, Drew's not getting any younger. He's got to understand, too, there's money to be spent around this organization to get better, that he's going to have to maybe not take he's going to have to give a hometown discount.
Yeah.
Even though he probably shouldn't, he's probably going to have to.
Well, he's made a lot of money in his career. Yeah. I see him in those untucked commercials, right? You guys see him walking down the street with his untucked shirt, and I don't think that he's hurting for cash.
No.
What matters more to him at this stage in his career, championship or money? So at that point, don't you want to work with the organization to get something done?
Yes.
Can the GM ask him that? Or does the player have to basically kind of come forward and say, I'm willing to take less?
I think both sides kind of know what the deal is, and as Drew is being the guy that's been to the promised land and it has hosted a Lombardi trophy, he knows what that means. Just having one is okay. Drew is one of those players in the NFL that deserves multiple championships, and I think he understands that. I think he gets it. I think it's a conversation. They come in and they're both sit at the table and say, "Listen, we know what we got to do. This is what we have. This is what we need to fill." Drew, you know what the time is. Can we come together put together a nice little deal, keep you here, and also give you some more weapons that are going to make you more successful?
How many years? How many more years we get at Drew Brees? He's getting what is he? 38? I'm the stats guy. I'm supposed to know these numbers, you guys. I'm letting us down.
I thought he's 40.
Oh, man, see?
If I'm not mistaken.
He's so youthful that he makes me – no, he's 41. He just turned 41 in January. He feels 38 to me.
JP
to JB, I don't know.
Long term? We talking 2-3 years?
I think that he's got 2 more left. 2 more. What do you think?
I think the condition he keeps himself, he can –
He's not doing it for less than a 3-year deal, man. It's not happening. So that's where I'm talking about. The money has to be structured right, because by that 3rd year, you're planning on that 3rd year of that contract to be maybe that down year where he's on his way out. And let's not forget about this.
Yep.
Teddy Bridgewater as well.
Oh yeah, what do you do with Teddy?
He's going to command some money. I mean, the conversations around the league after what he did filling in for Drew Brees, there's going to be a demand for him. So you're not going to be able to keep him. So not only do you need to sign your franchise quarterback and figure out a deal there, you're also going to have to figure out a backup quarterback as well for long term.
And it's not and Taysom Hill. I want to go there. What is Taysom Hill?
I don't see it.
Where is he on the depth chart? That's the fun question about that. But
he's unbelievable. When you talk about football player, you want to go back to the days of Red Grange and all that stuff. The guy that can do everything, he's one of those guys.
Yep.
Is he your everyday down quarterback? the league is going that way with guys that are mobile and that can throw and do multiple things.
For my bosses watching, I'm like the Taysom Hill of Nexstar. I do it all, okay? I hit the buttons here. Oh, hey, look, let's go to the good-looking guys over here. I can hit that button, and there they are. Love Taysom Hill.
Would you be more effective as an anchor or that all-utility guy? So would Taysom Hill be better as a full-time quarterback or in the kind of role that he is now?
The role that he's in now, I think, gives you the opportunity to have that surprise. There's a surprise element to that when he's in the game where it's like that teams have to game plan for that into their studying. I think you've got to have a franchise quarterback. Go get one, whether that's in the draft or what they're going to do long-term. I can't tell you that. But to not have – to think about Drew Brees and think about Teddy Bridgewater, that's a luxury of having a guy like Teddy if something happens to your quarterback like Drew. And we saw that this past season of having a guy like that can fill in the role while your main guy's out.
Did Teddy do enough for he convinced another NFL team that this is our guy?
Yes, because he convinced me watching him in Chicago.
There are a lot of teams out there that could listen. Chicago Bears.
Thank you. That was one of the things I was saying during the season. Why not? Try to figure it out. This could be a guy. This man started. He was a starting quarterback. Injury happened. Things change a little bit, but he's worked himself back into that conversation. And there's multiple teams out there, Jack, that I think are thinking about, man, this guy could be that guy. He's still young enough. He still looks – we've seen that he has the juice. Let's give him an opportunity. Let's give him a shot.
Alvin Kamara, unbelievable player, but he was nowhere near the impact player he was when he had Ingram in that back.
Oh, those fantasy football players. They were a little disappointed with their first-round selection in Alvin Kamara.
So do you see them going and grabbing a kind of a power back to complement him the way that he was when he had Ingram there?
They'd be doing themselves a disservice if they did it, because now teams were able to game plan against what he does so well. But when you can switch it up and you have two running backs that you don't know that have different skill sets, it's hard to game plan for that. In the NFL, Jack, week in and week out, once the season gets going, you don't have that much time to break down film. You're going from one team to the next team to the next team. That's what gives him that little bit of a surprise when you have these guys, because it's hard during your week to find guys that can run like both of them, to game plan for both of them. If you have that other guy, it changes up the dynamics of your offense.
And I want to point out, I think they miss Mark Ingram. I think that he brought a grit to that team that they sorely needed, right? So if the Baltimore Ravens last year, Mark Ingram, I think he missed some time with some injuries, but they had an edge, right? And I think maybe the Saints are missing that edge where they are right now as an offensive team. I want to see if we can go back here to our shot. Just kind of show us where we are here on Radio Row. There it is. There we are. Here's the scene. For those of you unfamiliar with Radio Row, hundreds of broadcast organizations descending here. We got ESPN behind us, NFL Network, NBC Sports. We got it all. Everyone.
Sports, CBS Sports,
this place is going to be crazy in a couple days.
It's going to be crazy. They're going to be – everybody who is anybody is going to be here. And I just look forward to breaking it down with Jack and UJB, of figuring out getting some more guests. I've already been working a little bit, working the room a little bit.
Yeah. You were walking around with a cigar.
Yeah, I got a cigar from one of my Montreal stations. Montreal, I played with the Alouettes in the CFL.
Yeah.
And they gave me a cigar. I don't smoke cigars, so I'm going to find someone here that can take it and probably enjoy that cigar.
All right.
Nick will smoke it for you.
Nick's not.
You got us hooked up with a pretty good guest tomorrow.
Well, tomorrow, yeah. Is it tomorrow?
Tuesday, tomorrow?
Is it 22? Is
that Barry Sanders guy?
Oh, the Barry Sanders, 20.
The GOAT!
The GOAT. Well, some people might have a little bit of a problem with that. But, yeah, Barry Sanders is going to be here. We'll have a chance to talk with him. And I'll be honest with you. There's a running back, and we'll talk about this tomorrow, a running back like brotherhood. All the running backs that were in that category with my father, they all have looked out for me, from Barry Sanders to Emmitt Smith. And these guys keep in touch with me on a monthly basis. And so to say that for the guys that I looked at growing up, who I admired, to have a phone call, to just call Emmitt or Barry, I need something, and they pick up and go, I got you, whatever you need. Jack, it's unbelievable, man.
Your phone might go missing at some point. I might be sharing
You might
contacts
be.
with myself.
You might be. You got to. You got to get in touch with these guys because they look out. And I think to have one of the GOATs here with us to talk about, football, anytime you get a chance to do that, that's not normal.
And I look forward to that conversation, the debate.
He's not going to get into it. I'll tell you right now, he won't get into it. As much as these guys believe that they're the greatest, they will never say it. And that's what they're so humble. These running backs are so humble. They're all great in their own right. But the one thing that makes them GOATs is that they can play in any era. You could drop Jim Brown in this era. You could drop Brown. If you can do that, that's what makes you a GOAT, man. That will get you the GOAT.
I love it. We got some great conversations coming up here on Radio Row, don't we? With some great guests. Everybody, Jarrett Payton, everybody, is with us this week on Radio Row. Jack Doles, guys, I'm so excited myself. Any last words before we say farewell?
Do you think receivers would have a humility about them where they wouldn't?
They never do. Jerry Rice always tells them, everybody, he's the GOAT, man. And you know what? You work hard enough to do that, you can say whatever you want to. I'm here for that. I'm here for it.
Jarrett, it's been a
Let's
fun
go,
day
man.
one.
It's only day one.
Can't wait to see where it goes. JB, why don't you close us out?
Everybody, Jack Doles and Jarrett Payton. You can follow them on Twitter. You can follow them on Facebook. They're great follows on Twitter. I'm all right. I'm a little boring. I've got enough technology to deal with, so tweeting isn't necessarily my top priority right now, but you can find me at WFLA JB. Great to have different areas represented. Grand Rapids, Chicago, Tampa, Florida. We got a lot going on this week here on Radio Row. Not just 49ers Chiefs. We're talking about some other teams as well. If you're watching at home, we might be talking about your favorite NFL team. So stick with us. We're back Tuesday, 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. Can't wait to see you on Big Game Bound. Everybody, take care.